In this video, we're taking a look at the Xeroshoes Scrambler Mid, a technical hiking boot that they are saying is the lightest one on the market. I'm going to tell you everything I like, what I don't like, why I'm returning mine, and why you might actually not want to. Now, once I opened these, I knew pretty much as soon as I put them on my feet that they were a bit too, we'll say, technical for me, meaning they have a little bit too much support and a little bit too much stiffness and structure for my personal needs. That being said, I still wanted to put them through the ringer, but still be able to return them. And you might be asking yourself, how in the world could I do that? Well, fortunately, I have a lab just for instances like this. So after I tried them out on all these different surfaces, it confirmed exactly what I thought right away. And instead of telling you all those details right now, we're gonna run through our typical shut test and talk about all the features of this as a minimalist shoe. Keeping in mind that this is designed to be a little bit more rigid because it is a technical boot. So let's dive in with S for sole. So first things first, this has the Michelin sole, the first time that Xeroshoes has used these, and it has these beefy lugs on them. So these are 3mm lugs, which is similar to a lot of theirs, but the pattern is pretty different. It's a bit more spread out and the density isn't as high, so it's gonna allow it to stick a little bit more on some of the more technical terrain. Now, another great thing about these lugs is you'll notice around the sides, they actually come up. So if you're on an uneven surface or like on the edge of a hill or something like that, you're actually still gonna be gripping and biting the ground on the sides along here. And I really did like that. You have it a little bit on the inside as well. I really like that feature. I think that makes a lot of sense. I think it serves a lot of good purpose for steep hills, whether it be in muddy conditions or scree or gravel or anything like that. I like that you're getting some more grip on the lateral side as you're traversing different types of varied terrain. So big props for thinking of that. I like it a lot. I wish the Excursion Fusion had that, but as you can see, they just end like most of their other boots do. Now, one of my big questions was, how does this rubber stick compared to the other rubber that they typically use? And after I tested it out, it actually sticks a little bit better than the Excursion Fusion, for example. And these tend to have the best grip of their other shoes. So based on my trials, the Scrambler Mid actually has the best traction out of all of them when it comes to the sticking of the rubber. At least that was the case in laboratory tests. So I really do like these lugs. I like the stickiness of the rubber, and I like the fact that the stack height is actually only 9mm. So the lugs, like I said, are 3mm. The sole plus the strobel are coming in at 4mm, and the removable insole is another 2mm. So if you keep that insole in, it's a total 9mm stack height, and if you remove that insole, it drops down to a 7mm stack height. That being said, because of this new style of rubber and because they are doing it as a technical boot, I don't like the ground feel. The ground feel and the flexibility are just not there for my particular tastes. You can see, like, yes, you can kind of twist it, but if you come to like pinch it, I'm a climber, like I'm pinching hard and we're barely getting any movement. And if you try to punch in with your thumb, you can see the entire section does shift, which is different than most technical boots out there, like if you're grabbing something from La Sportiva. However, it doesn't give you that good ground feel. Like if you step on an individual rock, it's gonna feel spread across this whole area instead of getting that really good feel for what's underneath your foot, which is what I prefer in a barefoot shoe, but of course everyone's preference is different. And again, they're trying to make this a technical boot. For reference, here is the Excursion Fusion. You can see just pushing in, like it's really localized. And this is one of their thicker, more robust shoes otherwise. And so if I were to grab like the Denver or something like that, you would really see that indentation, if you will. And again, if I just pinch this one, it folds right in half. If I push in, it twists, it turns. Again, this is the Excursion Fusion. Spoilers, I'd say grab this one instead of this one, but we'll keep going. So the sole overall, it's thicker than I would like it to be, but it is being exactly what it's marketed as, a technical boot. So I'm gonna go ahead and pass it, even though you're not getting great ground feel. I'm passing it because they are saying, yes, this is a more rigid boot for those that need and want that. You know, if you're backpacking with heavy loads, doing a through hike for months on end, maybe you want a little bit of extra support. I get that, I respect that. It's just not what I need for my particular uses. Even when I'm carrying a heavy pack, I'm not going for weeks or months at a time, so I'd much prefer something with better ground feel. Now that's the S for sole. Next we have H. So H is for heel, and it passes with flying colors, and this is one of the things that makes this stand apart, of course, from other technical boots. It's zero drop, as with all of Xero's shoes. So I'm glad they didn't compromise on that, because that would just be a complete poor decision, in my opinion. So I love that they're keeping it with zero drop, so your calves can still do calf things instead of standing on tippy toes all the time, which is what you get a lot with technical boots. So heel, flying colors, passes. Next, U for upper. Now the upper, I again did this in lab tests, so I can't really speak to the breathability, but at first feel, it feels nice, I like it. I really wish it was waterproof. I honestly don't know why they didn't waterproof it, because if I want a technical boot, 9 times out of 10, I'm gonna want it to be waterproof for any sort of bad weather, any sort of creek crossings, etc. Whereas the Excursion Fusion is waterproof. So can you tell what I'm pushing you toward? Anyway, it does still have the gator hook right here, which good call for a boot. It has the 2 posts up here. And in some reviews, I heard people talking about, oh, just lace it at the bottom and it feels like a regular shoe, like a running shoe. That was not my experience. I would question that. Because when you're laced solely at the bottom and ignoring these uppers, it hits you in the Achilles really awkwardly, and it just doesn't bend and flow right, so I'm not a fan of that. At the very least, I lace the bottom, and I do this with most of my boots. I only lace this bottom one. I don't go all the way to the top because it limits my range of motion too much, even on their other styles. So when you're laced all the way up, you just get a pretty limited dorsiflexion relative to a typical minimalist shoe or boot, both in dorsiflexion and also in lateral motion. You're really hitting this upper a lot. It's holding and supporting you, so if that's something you like, awesome, maybe this is the right boot for you. But in my case, don't like it, no go, absolutely just not for me in my current season of endeavors. So the upper, it's solid, it's doing what it claims and is supposed to do. I just don't like it, so that's why I'm returning it. They've got the loop back here and all that jazz, and of course still the Huarache style strap, so if you're pulling up here, it's still helping to have this area conform a little bit better, even though again it is a bit more rigid, so I don't think you're going to be getting a ton of change or wrapping around your foot, even with this style of strap. Next we have T for toe box, and this one I'm very pleased with. I love the toe box, plenty of room, as with most of Xeroshoes. I like it. And especially for a technical boot, I'm glad they really made sure to still include that, because if you need a technical boot, you're likely going to be on your feet for a long time, and with that comes swelling, so you need to make sure you have plenty of room here, in which case this one does. All right, so that concludes our shut test. As I mentioned throughout here, this is not a boot that I need. It's not a boot that I even want, honestly, which is why I'm going to return it. But if you, again, are doing major through hiking, or maybe you're new to minimalist and barefoot shoes and you want to still get the benefit of having a flat sole and a wide toe box, this could be a great place to start. And also search and rescue applications. Maybe you work and you have to wear boots for that. Maybe this could be a solution there if you need more rigidity for your day job. It's not like a steel toe protective work boot or anything like that. All that is to say, there are applications where this could be a good fit for you. I do not fall into that category. Even when I'm out, carrying heavy gear in the backcountry, I much prefer to have better range of motion and better ground feel, because that's what serves me. But if you do decide to grab this boot, feel free to grab it from the description down below. I've got an affiliate link there. My recommendation though would be, unless you need something super rigid, grab this Excursion Fusion. It still has some of that rigidity, especially compared to any minimalist shoes or most minimalist boots from Xeroshoes. It's a bit more rigid, and it is waterproof, and I really like that in this boot. The other thing that this one could be considered for would be winter use, but at that point I would just grab their Alpine or another boot that's waterproof and maybe a little bit warmer. But the reason I say maybe consider it for winter is because this sole is so rigid, it will likely perform better in your snowshoes or your crampons than something like even the Excursion Fusion. Because when I strap this up on my snowshoes, it starts to bend, And it's fine, but it could be better for that particular application. But again, this one falls short of the waterproofing, so I don't know how much sense that makes. If you have used this boot, let me know down in the comments what you used it for and how you liked it, because again, I've only tested this in the laboratory, and I'm a shoe reviewer who's a hardcore minimalist barefoot style guy, and so I'm gonna be a little bit tougher on these, but hey, they're technical boots, so they can handle me being tough. All right, hit that subscribe button for me, it really helps the channel, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video.